Hey guys, Logan Battles here, and today I'm going to be doing another episode of LBFT, or Logan Battles Football Talk. For this episode, I'm going to be talking about my reaction and my thoughts and opinions on the Virginia Tech and Florida State game, which happened, I believe, last Monday, or last Monday this week, I believe. That was the game. Now, I went there. I actually attended to the game on that day, and I didn't get a chance to actually do this episode about the game until now. I mean, I was originally going to do this episode the day after the game was over, but not only was I so tired to do so, but my voice was really hurting after all the shouting and all the shouting that was that I had during the whole game. So yeah, I was shouting a lot and hard. So that's what got me from doing this episode. But now that my voice is better, and I feel less tired than I was the day after last Monday, when the game was over, I finally have the chance to actually do this episode. So, without any further ado, let's get into this. So, if you guys didn't watch the whole game, basically, the Virginia Tech Hokies, who were formerly at 19, or 20, I think, were going up against my Florida State Seminoles at Doak Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee, Florida, against the formerly 19th Florida State Seminoles, mind you. And what happened is the Virginia Tech Hokies dominated my Florida State Seminoles 24-3. Giving up only a field goal to my Noles. So yeah, that is basically what just happened. 24-3 was the final score of the game. And like I said just a minute or two ago, I attended the game. I had a ticket for it. And I gotta tell you guys, it was really disappointing. As a Florida State Seminoles fan, ever since the last BCS National Championship back in January of 2014, when my Noles beat the Auburn Tigers with a game-winning touchdown, or when Jameis Winston throws the football to Kelvin Benjamin at the Auburn end zone and scored the touchdown. As a fan of the Florida State Seminoles for over 3 or 4 years, 3 or 4 years, I've been a fan, and as a fan, I was disappointed by this game. Very disappointed. I had many issues with my Seminoles. Lots of issues I have with my Seminoles. For one, the offense. The offense was awful. So awful that they didn't even score a damn touchdown. And that's when you don't score a freaking touchdown at your home turf against an opponent that was a 7-point underdog, mind you. Because remember, before this game was even before this game ever even kicked off, Virginia Tech was picked as the 7-point underdog to my Florida State Seminoles. And then the Virginia Tech Hokies proved the odds makers wrong by scoring 3 touchdowns and a field goal at my Florida State Seminoles home turf, giving up only a field goal by Ricky Aguayo. That is a travesty in and of itself. That is a travesty. Especially on the part of the Florida State Seminoles offense. The offense was doing virtually nothing but scoring a field goal. They did almost virtually nothing to help keep the game going for them. They really didn't. And I didn't understand for the life of me why so many playmaking mistakes have happened, especially, and that leads me to another issue I have with this game. Deondre Francois. This was not a good game for him whatsoever. 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 22 out of 35 completed passes. Come on, man. You can't make this up. He certainly had a very bad game. Let's not make this all up. He had a very bad game. He was very... He was... It's really hard to see him be like that. Be like the way he was in this game. It really was. And it baffles me that he turned out the way that he turned out to be in this game. Being not that good in this game. This was not the Deondre Francois that I saw the year before. He was very good in his rookie year at Florida State. Or what was it? I can't remember, but it was like anyway. It was his first year at Florida State. 2017, I think, or 2016. It was his first year, and he did very well in his first year. And then last year, his sophomore year, he went down with an injury in the season opening game against Alabama. And that pretty much sums up everything that has happened last season for my Noles. So, now having said all of that, Deondre Francois, his performance, not very good. 22 out of 35 completed passes for him. Yeah, he just doesn't have a very bad game. 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. You can't make that up. Come on now. Now, there are 3 other FSU players besides Deondre Francois that I thought were very underutilized. And I felt like they could have done more with them. Now, I felt like they could have done more with these 3 players that I'm about to mention. Cam Akers, Jaquez Patrick, and Nyquan Murray. Those were the 3 players that I felt like were going to be the most pitiful parts, or the most successful parts of the game for my Seminoles. I felt like they were going to do something big for my Seminoles in order to win the game against the Virginia Tech Hokies, and it turned out to not be the case because they kept getting ramrodded by the Virginia Tech Hokies defense. Every single turn they tried to take, Virginia Tech defensive players were getting up on them. Cam Akers was underutilized, Jaquez Patrick was underutilized, and Nyquan Murray, especially Nyquan Murray, was underutilized. They weren't giving the best plays to, make something happen. Cam Akers, 14 carries, 82 yards total. Jaquez Patrick, 0 carries, 40 total yards. Come on. And Nyquan Murray, 5 receptions, 52 total receiving yards. Yeah, man, come on. Now, moving on to other issues I have with the Florida State Seminoles besides the offense and 4 other players I just mentioned, including Deondre Francois. The offensive playmaking was terrible. So many playmaking choices that, Willie Taggart has made, they were not executed very well. There were, or at least most of them. I wouldn't say all of them, but most of them were pretty awful. Or at least the executions to the offensive plays they were trying to make weren't delivered very well, or they did deliver. Especially this one part where I can't remember exactly what quarter it happened in, but there was this one play where Deondre Francois was trying to make a pass, and it looked like, and I didn't even notice because I was at the game and I couldn't tell exactly what was happening, but I heard that there was this play that could have easily been a touchdown if the officials have caught it, and then somehow, some way, Coach Willie Taggart didn't use the timeout to review review the call or the play. He didn't do that, and that caught off most FSU fans, and you know that it caught them off guard just based on that alone. And that was just, yeah, it's like, why didn't you call a timeout just to review the play and try to have the officials, or not try to have the officials, try to let the officials know that that was actually a touchdown, and just stuff like that. I felt like Willie Taggart wasn't really ready to make those plays very well executed. I felt like he didn't really have enough time, or either that, or he didn't put in enough executions to the plays that he was trying to have his offense make, or him trying to make the offensive choices for the FSU offense to make. Either way, he didn't really deliver what he tried to promise. Yeah, but I know it's just one game. It's still the rest of the games, but still, he did not deliver most of the promise playmaking choices that he was trying to make, or at least the offense trying to make. So yeah, now that I got the offensive playmaking out of the way, it was terrible for the most part. Let's talk about Virginia Tech for a second. They did very well, at least offensively, or kind of. No, actually, let me hold Virginia Tech for a few minutes because I still haven't mentioned FSU defense. The FSU defense were, I would say, above average. The best they were ever been was in the third quarter. The third quarter, the FSU defense, they were doing very well. They did very well in the third quarter of the game, keeping Virginia Tech's offense from scoring any point. They didn't even let Virginia Tech's offense score a touchdown, a field goal, or even a safety. And that's just very odd. But again, FSU's defense did very well in the third quarter, preventing any score that happened from or to Virginia Tech's offense. Now, they did well on holding off the Virginia Tech's offense, but by halfway through the fourth quarter, it was too late. They keep holding on. They keep holding off the Virginia Tech offense, but again, by halfway through the fourth quarter, it was too late. And so now I'm getting to Virginia Tech. FSU's defense was okay. I mean, they did well in the third quarter, and that's all that I can say positively. So let's talk about Virginia Tech. They did very well defensively, just like what I said about FSU's defense. Virginia Tech's defense also did very well. They also kept my Florida State Seminoles offense from scoring any points. A touchdown, a field goal, and even a safety. Although I don't know if offensive players score a safety. It leans towards more of, a defense scoring safety if a quarterback or an offensive team loses the ball at the end zone. But I digress. Virginia Tech's defense, again, did very well, especially in the third quarter. And then they also did well in the first quarter. And Virginia Tech's offense did well, but not as well as their defense, I would say. Virginia Tech's offense, they scored 10 points, a touchdown and a field goal in the first quarter, and they scored a touchdown in the second. They scored none in the third. The third quarter is much like it is pretty much a third quarter, a defensive third quarter, I would say. Where a quarter where, both teams, will hold on the offensive team, or the two defensive teams holding off against two offensive teams, or one defensive team holding off an offensive team. The third quarter was pretty much a defensive battle between the two, is what I'm trying to say. And then Florida State still haven't scored since Ricky Oguayo's field goal. And then Virginia Tech scored another touchdown in the fourth quarter. I forgot to mention this. Within the last 9 minutes of the game, when Virginia Tech was still leading, I actually left the stadium. Within the last 9 minutes of the game, I left the stadium along with a family member of mine, because we really did not like how our Florida State Seminoles were doing, for the most part offensively, because the offense did not do squat to the Virginia Tech defense. They didn't do jack squat to the defense of the Virginia Tech Hokies, and that's really bad. As a fan of the Florida State Seminoles, that's not a good sign, and you also know that it's not a good start for the Florida State Seminoles, especially for this season. It was not a good start of this season, not even close. I mentioned this very early in this episode, but when you have been dominated by a visiting opponent at your home turf, no matter what the score is, even if it's a dominant score, when you get beaten up on your home turf by a visiting team, that's not a good sign for what the rest of your season is going to look like. And that leads me to say this. I don't know what the rest of the season is going to look like. Now, I did an episode not too long ago where I predicted the 2018 FSU season prediction. I did my prediction on that video. It's the pilot episode of season 2 of LBFT. You can go watch it. The link is the eye notification will pop up. But anyway, I did an episode on that, and I predicted my Seminoles to be the regular season to be 10-2, only having 2 losses to Clemson and to Notre Dame. Now, after walking out of the stadium last Monday night, at this point, I don't know what it's going to look like after FSU's dominant loss at home against Virginia Tech. Now, if this went the other way around, I would still be consistent of what I said in my prediction for the 2018 FSU regular season in 2018. But because it didn't happen, and because the Seminoles didn't do so well at scoring a freaking touchdown that which they should have, especially for a season opening game that takes place at your home turf, it's really a bad sign if you are a fan of the Florida State Seminoles. It really is. That there's no other way to put it. The offense, awful for the most part. Defense was slightly above average. They did well in the third quarter. Deondre Francois did not have a good game in this. Did not have a very good game in this. And the other three players on the FSU offense that I mentioned, Cam Akers, Jaquez Patrick, and Nyquan Murray, they were very underutilized as far as I'm concerned. The offensive playmaking was terrible for the most part. And Willie Taggart, and I also said this minutes ago, or earlier in this episode, but Willie Taggart did not deliver 100% on making really great plays, or at least making them well executed. He really didn't deliver on that like he promised he would. And again, that's just one game. I know that. I know it's just one game, but still, it doesn't really look good when you lost at home in a season opening game, mind you, against a 7-point underdog. That's not good. So, those are just my thoughts and opinions on the game. I left within like I said, I left within the last 9 minutes of the game with a family member of mine, because we were so disappointed with how our Florida State Seminoles turned out to be, at least for the most part, the offense, because they didn't do a damn thing besides the field goal. We were looking at each other confused as to what the hell just happened to our offense. Like, it really doesn't make sense. But that's just the way it is. You know, it's really disappointing. I hung my head really low on my way back home. That is about an hour away from Tallahassee. So, yeah, really disappointing. So anyway, guys, this is episode 5, I believe, of Season 2 of LBFT, or Logan Battles Football Talk. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please click the like button. And if you are an FSU fan and you are as disappointed in the game as I was, feel free to let me know what your thoughts on the game below, in the comments section below. And tell me what you really think, what should have happened that didn't happen. And if you enjoy what you've seen here and you want to see future videos from me, please press the subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so that you never miss a video. I will see you guys in the next episode of LBFT. Have a great week, Battle Squad, and as always, fight the good fight.